Unlock your destiny. A brutal morning prayer for transformation at 3 a.m. The clock read 2:57 a.m. when Sarah's phone buzzed to life, its eerie glow illuminating her bedroom like a ghostly lighthouse. Every muscle in her body felt tight, as if the night itself was holding her captive. Outside, the wind howled like a restless spirit, dragging branches against the window. It was this unholy hour that legends whispered about, a time when the world danced with shadows and secrets waited to be unearthed. Sarah slid from her tangled sheets, the chill of the floor sending a shiver down her spine. She could sense that the air crackled, alive with an otherworldly presence. In that moment of stillness, an unsettling thought gripped her. What would happen if she made the fabled 3 a.m. morning prayer? Friends had spoken of its rumored power, how it summoned transformation. But what price did that come with? She grabbed a candle, its flame flickering wildly, as though it too could feel the weight of her decision. The room was an amalgamation of shadows dancing on the walls, whispering secrets she'd never been brave enough to uncover. At precisely 3 a.m., she knelt, heart racing, palms pressed together in trembling reverence. Her voice broke through the silence, raw and desperate, echoes bouncing off the walls. The moment was electric, charged with tension as if the universe paused to listen. Suddenly, a loud crash reverberated from the kitchen. Had someone broken in? She spun around, visions of midnight horrors skittering across her mind. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The kitchen loomed dark and foreboding. She could hear her heart pounding in her ears. She stood frozen, ready to flee or fight, hands shaking as she felt the candle's heat starting to wane. Then, out of the depths of silence, a whisper floated through the air, chilling her to the bone. Unlock your destiny. See what lies beyond. Trembling, Sarah took a tentative step forward. What was this power she had invoked? What had she unleashed into the world? As she crossed the threshold into the kitchen, a shadow darted across her vision. Breath hitching, she gazed in the direction of the sound. The thrill of fear mingled with curiosity. Was it just her imagination, or had something truly broken through the veil between worlds? The air was thick, heavy with anticipation, and the faint flicker of the candle seemed like a tiny beacon of hope in the deepening darkness. What awaited her on the other side? The shadows in the kitchen deepened as Sarah stepped inside, her heart thundering against her ribcage. Adrenaline coursed through her veins, making her feel alive and terrified all at once. She held the candle high, its small flame fighting against the suffocating darkness. The kitchen was a mess, but an unsettling stillness permeated the air, as if the world was holding its breath. "Is anyone there?" she called out, her voice trembling. Silence responded, pressing down like a weight. The shadows shifted, and she felt eyes on her, unseen and yet profoundly aware. The world felt warped, a place where normal rules no longer applied. Was it the prayer? Had her invocation drawn something here? A soft creak echoed, as if a door had opened, and her breath quickened. The feeling of dread thickened, wrapping around her like a wet blanket. She needed to know what was happening. What had she released? "Show yourself," Sarah shouted, desperation mingling with courage. With each passing moment, the unnerving whispers from the shadows grew more frantic. They spiraled around her, a cacophony of sound that should have frightened her away, but instead rooted her to the spot. Then she saw a flicker of movement, a figure darting past the pantry door. Panic surged. "I'm not afraid of you," she declared, though her trembling fists betrayed her. Suddenly, the candle flickered violently, casting wild and distorted shapes on the walls. The pressure in the room intensified, like being caught in a vacuum. Shadows twisted and morphed, and she could swear she saw faces anguished and pleading within them. Had she opened a door to a world of lost souls? As if in response, the whispers grew louder, more defined. Unlock, unlock! They echoed through her mind, drowning out her thoughts. It was maddening, relentless. Was the prayer meant to help her or trap her? She stumbled backward, almost colliding with the kitchen table. Get away from me! She cried out, but it was too late. A chill washed over her as a figure emerged from the inky darkness. It was tall and featureless, a silhouette that blurred the line between human and something otherworldly. Sarah, the entity breathed, voice smooth yet harsh. You called me. The words wrapped around her like chains, binding her to the spot. You sought transformation. Are you ready to accept the truth? The weight of its gaze pressed down on her, and a flood of conflicting emotions surged through her: fear, curiosity, and a hint of exhilaration. The entity seemed to pull her closer, probing the depths of her soul. What truth? She managed to sputter, clenching her fists. Truth lies in the choices made. Break the chains of your past. Embrace what you are meant to become. As those words hung in the air, Sarah felt a cold wave wash over her, not just chilling her bones, but igniting a hidden flame within. Don't resist. It coaxed, an undercurrent of something almost tender entwined with the menace. You have only to embrace it. What would she become? Was she truly ready to face whatever nightmare loomed ahead? The candle flickered one last time before extinguishing, leaving her in complete darkness. Alone with the entity that had found her, and every question echoing in her mind. The air thickened, and the shadows closed in. What power awaited her? What was the cost of transformation? Would she dare take the leap into the abyss, or would fear chain her to the life she wanted to escape? In that moment of uncertainty, a door creaked open behind her. Was it an exit or a passage into the unknown? The choice loomed ahead like a gaping maw, waiting to swallow her whole. What choice would she make? The darkness whispered once more, urging her forward. The darkness swallowed Sarah, wrapping around her like a suffocating embrace. The absence of light dredged up every fear she had ever buried. She could feel the entity, its presence heavy a weight, a challenge. The whispered urgings filled her mind again, relentless and rabid. Unlock, unlock, she turned, her heart racing to keep pace with her thoughts. The door behind her creaked open farther, revealing just a hint of light, a sliver of hope against the oppressive black. It beckoned to her, whispering promises of escape, or maybe of something worse. Don't let it consume you, she thought, fighting against the tug of intrigue that it pulled deep inside her. You don't know what it is. But the reality was that she felt drawn to the unknown, to the choice that waited like a gaping maw. Join me. The entity purred, its voice wrapping around her like silk strands, soft yet suffocating. I can show you the way. You can be free. Free? She whispered, doubt gnawing at her, intimately entwined with the candle's last dying flicker. What are you? Just a guide, a friend. You are not ready to see what lies ahead, but I can help you uncover the truth. Just let go. Sarah's breath quickened. What truth? What awaited her in that feeble light? She took a step toward the door, but hesitated, her pulse hammering in her ears. If she accepted this entity's offer, would she even recognize the person she'd become? She could feel the entity's anticipation, its desire fed by her tension. This isn't what you want, she shouted, her words shattering the quiet. I'm not interested in being part of your game. The shadows seemed to shift, swirling in a frenzy, as if provoked, whispering angrily. This is not a game, Sarah. Life has changed you, but I can help you break free. You can transform the pain into power. The atmosphere chilled, each word it spoke sinking deeper into her bones. Memories suffocated her, moments where she had felt trapped in her own skin, smothered by past mistakes and wasted dreams. The temptation to shed it all radiated from the entity, promising not just acceptance, but transformation, becoming something greater, something else. But was it truly freedom? Think of the possibilities. It continued, its tone unfurling like velvet. No more hiding. No more fear. Just embrace who you were meant to be. Her breath caught, and she forced herself to take a step back from the door. The shadows pulsed as if sensing her indecision. The entity loomed larger, closer, feeling like a pulse in her own heart. Everything has a price, she stammered, her mind flashing back to the old tales of deals struck and souls lost. The realization rushed over her. If I walk through that door, what do I sacrifice? Silence answered her, thick and oppressive. Then, as if answering her fear, the entity transformed. Flickering shadows began to take shape, faces contorted in agony and longing. This is the cost of your uncertainty. They are what you leave behind. Her own reflection twisted among the shapes. How many times had she felt like one of them adrift, lost, chasing shadows of what could have been? But the reality loomed over her. Was this the price she was willing to pay? Was she prepared to embrace whatever spiteful demon awaited her on the other side? Just as she contemplated her next move, the air thrummed with electric intensity. Unlock, unlock! The whispers of the darkness surged to a climax, and with it, the ground beneath her feet shook. The shadows rallied. It was now or never. With a rush of defiance, Sarah lunged toward the door, heart pounding, as everything around her faded into a symphony of chaos. What awaited her in that light? Was it really freedom, or was she stepping into a deeper abyss? The choice was demanding, and the shadows trembled with anticipation. Sarah stepped through the door, her body trembling as the brilliant light enveloped her. It was piercing, a white-hot radiance that pushed back against the dark clutches she had just escaped. Her breath hitched at the contrast. The warmth was almost disorienting. What now? She thought, squinting against the brightness. The entity was silent, its presence no longer swirling around her, but leaving an echo of deceit in the air. She blinked rapidly and tried to steady herself, her heart racing like a runaway train. As her vision cleared, she found herself in a large, open space. The walls were torn, their edges disintegrating into dust, as if the very fabric of whatever realm she had entered was unraveling. Shattered mirrors hung at odd angles, reflecting fragments of her own face, distorted and pleading. "Show me," she whispered, her voice trembling in the vast emptiness. She had crossed a threshold, but what awaited her on this side? The light gradually dimmed, and all around her, the shadows seeped in from the edges, blending with the remnants of brightness. Whispers returned, weaving between her thoughts, sharp and enticing. "You can reshape this world, Sarah. You alone hold the map to your destiny. Will you seize it?" Each word felt like a jagged stone in her chest. What must I do? Suddenly, figures emerged from the shadows. They formed a huddled mass, faces obscured in a haze of darkness. They moved in sync, an army of lost souls drawn to her uncertain strength. Their eyes glimmered with desire and echo of her own hidden aspirations. "Help us," they begged, their voices melding into a haunting chorus. "Why should I help you?" She shot back, her pulse quickening as she realized the price of this transformation. These souls were bound to their own fears, lesser versions of herself that she could easily morph into if she lost her way. "Because you understand," one figure whispered, its voice deceptively soft. "You know the weight of regret. You know the feeling of being lost. Together, we can be powerful. Together, we can forge a new existence." The shadows surged, pulsing with energy, and for the first time, Sarah felt their desperation tug at her heart. If they were once trapped like her, could she really turn her back? But where would we go? The question slipped from her lips before she realized it. "To the depths of your making." The entity reappeared, its voice now clear, seductive. "Embrace the darkness, wield it. You want to be free? You want to transform the pain into power? This is your opportunity." Sarah stepped back, the enormity of the offer bearing down on her. The faces of the shadows melted into her memories, her failures, her losses, all swimming in a cauldron of despair. But could power really lie in embracing it? Her hands trembled, caught between the light of hope and the darkness of despair. A soft wind whispered through the crumbling walls, sending waves of cold air that brushed against her skin. Choose, Sarah. Join us, or turn away. You'll either be a beacon or be forever shackled. The choice is yours. The air grew thick, suffocating with unresolved tension. Sarah stood there, heart hammering, her breath a mixture of fear and exhilaration. The darkness stirred, shadows awaiting her decision with bated breath. Something primal ignited in her deep within, restless and alive. Was there really a choice to make? Did she even want to remain free, or was the pull of transformation too tempting to resist? As the shadows leaned closer, their longing palpable, she knew one thing for sure. One path would lead to chaos and loss, while the other promised an unnerving power. What would she decide? The shadows launched forward, eager to envelop her decision as Sarah felt the weight of their desire press against her very soul. She gasped as the shadows embraced her, the cold wrapping around her limbs like chains. Fear coursed through her veins as reality twisted and warped. The whispers escalated, a deafening cacophony, drowning out her own thoughts. Join us. Become us. In that moment of swirling chaos, a vision cracked through her mind. A burning city, bright flames consuming everything in sight. She could see herself different, remade, standing amidst the ruins, commanding the inferno with powerful hands. The thrill of control coursed through her, sparking an adrenaline rush that was intoxicating. But beneath that gleam of power, a pit of dread formed in her stomach. Was that truly freedom, or merely a gilded cage? Picture it. The entity's voice slithered through the darkness, seductive and ruthless. No more pain. You can be the architect of your own existence. Every regret, every wound transformed into strength. The shadows tightened around her, merging into a solid mass, urging her forward. But as she inhaled, she could smell it now, the stench of burnt memories, grief, and lost chances. No, this is not what I want. The defiance burned in her chest, momentarily pushing back the overwhelming tide. The figures around her faltered, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. You still doubt. A voice murmured familiar and twisted. It was her own. You fear the dark because it mirrors your own flaw, your failures. Embrace it or be consumed by it. As the whispers closed in, Sarah's heart thundered, that primal urge clawing at her mind. She needed clarity, a reason to push through the suffocating darkness. Could she really transform the shadows around her without being swept away? Remember, it whispered, the dark was not always your enemy. You may wield it, use it. Panic set in. The shadows lunged, nearly devouring her with the weight of their despair. She felt herself being pulled toward their desperation, like a moth to a flame. If she accepted them, if she joined them, would she lose herself, or could she rise above, stronger than she ever imagined? Suddenly, a figure broke through the mass, a woman with familiar features. It was her younger self, wide-eyed and trembling. Don't forget where you came from, Sarah. You are stronger than this. That voice, pure and unwavering, cut through the fog, igniting a spark of resistance. Fight! It echoed in the vast emptiness. With that surge of energy, Sarah thrust her hands into the rolling darkness, feeling the raw power surging within her. It was messy, chaotic, but it was hers. I do not fear my past. I will shape my future. The shadows recoiled, energy fracturing against her will. For every wretched memory they held, she countered with a flicker of hope, a decision to rise. Light exploded from her palms, illuminating the space with a fierce glow that shattered the choking darkness around her. Her reaction was brewing in the air. The shadows writhed, imploding around her, creating a vortex of power that threatened to pull her apart. No, she screamed, pushing against the torrent with every ounce of strength she possessed. But just as the light intensified, a blinding flash erupted, and everything went dark again. In that suffocating silence, Sarah felt herself falling, spiraling into an unknown void. Alone, what would await her when the darkness lifted? As she floated in that unsettling nothingness, one thought shattered the silence. What if power came with an even greater price than she was willing to pay? The flicker of realization ignited her spirit. But when the light would return, what form would she take? Darkness swirled around her like a tempest, thick and suffocating. Sarah felt a grip on her heart, cold and relentless. The pulse of dread echoed in her ears, matching the beat of her racing heart. For what felt like an eternity, she remained suspended in that void, fighting against the sensation of being lost. It was as if time itself held its breath, waiting for her to make her move. Suddenly, a dim light flickered ahead, barely visible at first, then brighter. She squinted through the haze, drawn to it like a moth to the flame. She couldn't ignore it. The glow pulsed with an energy that felt alive and inviting. It offered a glimpse of hope, yet nagging fear lingered. What if that light was another trick, another shadow masquerading as something beautiful? Compelled to discover the source, Sarah propelled herself toward the light. Each inch forward was a battle against the darkness that clawed at her. Memories rushed back, uninvited: the feeling of betrayal, the sound of slamming doors, the caustic laughter of those who wanted to see her fail. It fed the shadows lurking just outside the light's embrace. "Face me," she shouted, the words reverberating against nothingness. As she approached, the light changed, morphing into countless smaller orbs, swirling and darting like fireflies. They surrounded her, illuminating the space while casting elongated shadows that danced along the edges of her awareness. Within those shadows, figures emerged, faces of people she once loved, lost, or feared. "Dwell in memory, Sarah," one voice crooned, familiar yet twisted. "These are your pasts, your choices, your faults. You will find strength in submission." "No." Sarah gritted her teeth, her resolve strengthening with each pulse of the orbs around her. "I will not submit. I will rise." With a fierce shout, she stretched her hands outwards, embodying her defiance. The orbs surged at her command, spiraling into a whirlwind of shimmering light that pushed back against the encroaching darkness. But just then, the faces in the shadows blurred and transformed. They morphed into grotesque caricatures of her failures, people who mocked her, friends who had abandoned her, moments of despair that haunted her dreams. "You'll never escape us," they taunted, their voices merging into a dissonant chorus that clawed at her sanity. Sarah staggered back, the weight of their memories pressing down like lead. Dizziness threatened to pull her under until a surge of anger ignited inside her. "You are nothing but echoes. I will not live in your shadows." In response, she closed her eyes, allowing her anger to coalesce into resolve. The warmth from the orbs enveloped her, filling the emptiness with a comforting glow, a reminder that she had choices still, that her journey wasn't over. "Let go of the past," whispered the ethereal voices of her hopes. "You can rewrite your story." With a gasp, she opened her eyes. The darkness recoiled as she thrust forward, a blazing beam of light erupting from her being. Radiance swallowed the shadows, shocking the figures into silence. She felt them slipping away, their power crumbling under her defiance. "Walk into your light," she declared, fierce conviction fueling her words. But just as her consciousness expanded, threatening to fracture into something magnificent, a sudden chill gripped her, pulling her back. The shadows howled. Their wails became desperate, venomous. "Foolish girl, you think you can escape?" The walls of her self-python tightened, almost crushing her spirit. Panic surged again, and as she fought against it, an unsettling truth bubbled to the surface. Who would she become when everything she feared melted away? Before she could ponder further, the light shuddered and flickered again, revealing a single image beyond a mirror shimmering in the radiant glow, reflecting not just her face, but a darker shadow behind her. "What lies behind you?" whispered the voice of the mirror, chilling her to the bone. Sarah stared, heart racing. What would she find back there? The mirror's surface rippled like a disturbed pond, and Sarah felt an inexplicable pull towards it. With every heartbeat, the chill behind her grew heavier, dragging her thoughts into deep, murky waters. She couldn't turn away. Her breath quickened as she leaned closer. A figure started to take shape within the mirror, flickering like an old film reel, her reflection vaguely familiar, yet twisted. It was a shadow of herself, a darker version lurking beneath her resolve. The eyes bore the weight of countless regrets, failures, and heartaches. "You think you've escaped, but you're wrong," it hissed, a voice thick with venom, yet holding echoes of her own. "I'm everything you try to bury." "No," she cried out, shaking her head. But the fear rooted itself in her chest, a gnawing creature that wanted to crawl up her throat. "I'm stronger than you. You are the memories you've sealed, the pain you try to hide," the shadow replied, smirking. "Look at me. I am the truth behind your beauty, the grit beneath your shine." The light began to flicker again, catching her off balance under its intensity. Sarah took a step back, her pulse rising as she fought against the dizzying sensation that threatened to plunge her back into darkness. She couldn't let the shadow consume her. "What do you want?" she demanded, the challenge lacing her voice with desperation. The figure smiled wider, revealing teeth that gleamed with malice. "I want you to see your sins, accept them. Only then can you move forward. Reject me, and you'll remain trapped in your own mind, forever battling the darkness." The realization hit her hard. She had been running from her past, shunning the parts of herself that felt unworthy. Could she truly confront these demons? Could she mend the shattered pieces that made her whole? "Face them, Sarah. Look into the truth, for only then will you find your freedom," the shadow urged, a seductive lull wrapping around her. Trembling, she swallowed hard, fighting the inclination to flee. Instead of anger or fear, she felt a whisper of courage unfurling within her, a flicker the darkness couldn't snuff out. "All right," she breathed, steeling herself. "I will face you." As she stepped forward again, the light radiated a warm embrace, wrapping around her like a protective cloak. Yet the figure in the mirror flickered faster, as if agitated by her declaration. "You do not know what you're asking for," it howled, but the words sounded desperate, filled with a sense of doom. But Sarah felt the pulse of defiance roaring inside her. "Maybe I don't," she shouted back, confidence building with every word. "But I will not let you dictate my journey." The reflection warped, twisting into a vortex of raw emotion, confusion, regret, anger, and a glimmer of hope. She felt the air crackle with tension, as unsure what would happen next. "Come back to me," it wailed, reaching out with elongated fingers toward her. As she bridged the gap, the mirror shattered into 1,000 glinting shards, cascading like rain. Each fragment reflected not just the darkness, but flashes of light, moments of joy, laughter, triumph. Each piece beckoned her to reclaim her narrative, to embrace both the light and the shadows that lie in the chaos. The laughter resonated, drowning out the shadow's last desperate pleas. A kaleidoscope of memories swirled before her, and she realized that only by confronting the darkness within her could she finally step into the light. But just as clarity began to surge through her, a pulse of energy erupted from the depths of the shattered mirror. A sinister laugh echoed through the chaos. "You think you've conquered me? This is just the beginning." As Sarah braced herself, uncertainty swept over her. The remnants of her past began reforming around her, threatening to pull her back into the abyss. Would she re-emerge victorious, or would the shadows reclaim their grip? With her heart racing, she prepared for battle, knowing the fiercest fight lay ahead. In the swirling storm of light and darkness, one truth remained: her journey was far from over. What more awaited her in the shadows? Lurking just out of sight, the fragments of shattered glass swirled around her like fireflies in a tempest. Each glimmer held a reflection of her past, brighter and darker aspects colliding in a vicious dance. Sarah could hear their whispers, echoes of her laughter, mingling with the sharp gasps of regret. Just when she thought the whirlwind would consume her completely, a brilliant beam of purple light erupted from the center. She stumbled back, heart racing, blinking against the brightness. "What is this?" she whispered, fear gnawing at her. "Your chance at redemption," a voice sang, rippling through the air, soft yet piercing. It was different from the shadow's malign sneer. This had a warmth that beckoned. "If you truly desire to confront your truth, step into the light." It pulsated in rhythm with her pulse, coaxing her forward. But hesitation gripped her. What would she find? The thought of facing everything her shadow had unmasked terrified her. What if the reflection was worse than she imagined? Don't listen to it. The shadow loomed closer, its elongated fingers clawing at the air, desperate to reclaim her attention. Don't fall for its tricks. With every word, the fear thickened in the air, swirling around her like a storm. Light and shadow were locked in an epic battle, each gripped by their own desperate need to prevail. "No," Sarah shouted, fire igniting inside her. "I won't be scared by you anymore." She turned slowly, taking a deep breath to steady herself. The purple light wound itself around her fingers, sparking courage. "You're just fear," she said firmly, "and I refuse to let you define me." The shadow recoiled momentarily, its sinister aura diminishing. "You can't fight me, Sarah. I'm ingrained in you." But as she stood in the light, she felt her spirit rising. "Maybe, but I'm stronger than I was before. I won't run anymore." Step by deliberate step, she advanced toward the luminous heartbeat of the light, feeling the weight of her past transform from a suffocating blanket to a gentle wrap of warmth. The moment she crossed the threshold, light engulfed her completely, obliterating the shadow's existence, a blinding wave of liberation washing over her. And then she found herself in a vast space, tranquil and infinite, where colors blended in soft whispers and shapes glided gracefully around her. She gasped, inhaling peace with every breath. But as quickly as the calm settled, a familiar voice broke through. "Look around you." The shadow's echo rang out, no longer harsh but filled with a twisted glee. "You think the light is here to save you? Everything you face now is a choice I am happy to help you make." The serenity cracked, revealing daunting images of her past, afflictions swarming like insects. Each memory was a weighing anchor, each a decision that threatened to drag her back to darkness. "You don't have to do this alone," the shadow hissed, luring her in with false promises of comfort. A wave of panic rushed over her. "What if I fail? Then you'll be lost again," it sneered, a tempest roiling in its voice. "You'll never be free." "Trust me," Sarah felt the shroud of fear wrapping tighter around her. But then she remembered the warmth of the light, wrapping around her like a safety net. It was that moment she realized the battle wasn't with the shadow, it was within her heart. Breathing deeply, Sarah steadied herself. "I know the truth now. I see you for what you are." The energy shifted. Memories blurred while new choices emerged in a kaleidoscopic whirlwind, her fears converging with flickers of hope and scattered dreams. She gathered her resolve, powerful as the dawn breaking the night. "Who are you?" she demanded of the flickering image ahead, the shadow morphing in response. "What you've always dreaded," it chuckled. But now she was prepared. The lights spun faster, merging into a single, brilliant column of hope piercing through the darkness. But then, a rumble echoed through the endless space, a warning of deeper shadows approaching, and Sarah felt the ground quake beneath her. "It's not over, Sarah," the shadow spat, losing the playfulness of its voice. "You think you can escape?" Sarah's heart raced, realization dawning this was only the beginning, but she had the power to change her story. "Stay with me, for in and out this realm we will weave." It taunted as darkness swelled around her. She focused on the shimmering light inside her, ready to fight for her awakening. As the shadows closed in, would Sarah's bravery be enough to break the chains binding her? The answer loomed ahead, but unveiling the truth would require courage in the face of the gathering storm. What awaited in the depths beyond the veil? The rumble deepened, shaking the ground beneath Sarah's feet. It was no longer just a hint of danger, it was a threat swirling around her, coaxing out hesitation that she fought so hard to suppress. Her heart thudded violently, but the light within her roared louder. Face your worst nightmare, and I will grant you power. The shadow coiled, its laughter mixed with the echo of her own insecurities. Do you think you can withstand the truth? Images rushed past her like shadows, flickering under a streetlight, memories of regret, loss, and pain. Faces she had turned away from, words left unspoken. They manifested into a storm, chilling her resolve. Yes, I can, she shouted back, defiance igniting new fire in her veins. You no longer control me. I refuse to be your pawn. As she spoke, the light expanded, pushing against the encroaching darkness. With every ounce of strength, she embraced the swirling chaos, no longer afraid of the truth. She stepped forward boldly, and the ground beneath her shimmered a path, appearing where none had been before. Yet in the transition, a fierce wind howled, and tendrils of shadow lunged toward her, hissing with malevolence. You truly believe the light can protect you? You are merely running away from what you've done. Sarah's breath quickened. The words stung, sharper than any blade. They cut through the light, reaching into the very essence of her being. Doubt, regret, a flood of memories crashed over her like a billion tiny ice-tipped blades. If she didn't confront these shadows, they would consume her. No, Sarah cried. I will not be drowned by my past. With a sudden force, she thrust her hands toward the encroaching shadows. The light brightened, spiraling outward in a counterattack, illuminating her fears. You can't live in me anymore. I will not allow it. But the shadows rallied, morphing, becoming monstrous specters of grief and sorrow, taking form from her deepest fears, each one a thorn in her side, tugging at her heart. They wailed in torment. It's useless. They will always haunt you. Your fears will always be part of you. No, she whispered, heart clenching. You're wrong. The truth settled on her like a blanket. The shadows were parts of her, yes, but they were not her entirety. They were experiences, lessons, something to learn from, not to hide from. They had happened, and she could embrace them without letting them define her. With a fierce shout, she claimed her voice. I own my past. I own my choices. The light pulsed, powerful and radiant. It surged through her, lifting her spirit higher and brighter, as if the entire universe was watching, waiting for this very moment. The specters shrieked, their forms fragmenting under the intensity of her newfound conviction. But as they began to dissolve, the ground shook again, and a dark shape loomed at the edge of her sight, larger than any shadow she had confronted. You have wrought chaos. It thundered, its voice a chilling echo that rattled her core. You think you can rid yourself of your past? I am all that you have run from. Sarah gasped, her heart hammering. This creature was the culmination of every self-doubt, every regret, a manifestation of her deepest trenches of fear. She felt small in its presence, overwhelmed, teetering on the edge of despair. Desperately, she clung to the light within her, sensing it flickering, but just as she felt it waning, she remembered the warmth of the hope she had wrapped around herself before. I will rise again. With one final surge, she directed every ounce of her courage into the light. I will take ownership. You have no hold on me. And as the radiant beams struck the heart of darkness, the world shook violently. An explosion of blinding white light burst forth, resonating with a power that felt almost alive. But then silence. The darkness seemed to have vanished, leaving only shimmering remnants behind. Sarah stood in the aftermath, breathing heavily, uncertainty cloaking her. What had she just unleashed? In the stillness, shadows crept back, but they were different now. They hesitated, sensing the strength she had. Awaken within. Now, she stated firmly, voice steady with renewed determination. Show me what I need to confront. The shadows trembled, reflecting her deep desires and looming challenges, but as they shifted, one thing became clear. The battle wasn't over yet. She had untapped a power, yes, but at what cost? And at that moment, Just as she was prepared to take the next step, a piercing cry echoed from behind a veil of shadow, a cry that would change everything. What awaited her as she stepped further into this realm of half-light and swirling fear? The cry reverberated through the air, slicing through the remaining tension like a knife. "Help me!" It was a haunting melody, filled with desperation and warmth. Sarah felt the hairs on the back of her neck rise. Instinctively, she turned to see a figure emerging from the swirling shadows that a young girl, no older than 10, stepped forward. Her face was smeared with tears, eyes wide and pleading, yet beneath them was a flicker of familiarity, a reflection of Sarah's own forgotten innocence. "Please, I don't want to be lost anymore," the girl whimpered, reaching out with trembling hands. Sarah's heart twisted, the pain igniting every dark corner of her soul. This child was a piece of her past, a memory long buried under layers of adulthood and regret. "How can I help you?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Fear tightened around her throat. The girl represented everything she had tried to escape: vulnerability, pain, and guilt. "Face it," the girl urged, stepping closer but still hovering just beyond reach. "You abandoned me. You buried me deep within, afraid of what it would mean to confront the truth. You need to let me out, Sarah. Only then can we be free." A wave of realization washed over Sarah. The weight of the girl's pain struck like thunder in her chest. Embracing that lost innocence would take more courage than she had ever summoned before. But the bond of connection sparked her fight. "You're not just my past," she declared, stepping through the traps of fear surrounding her. "You are part of who I am. I will not lose you again." With a defiant roar, she thrust her hands forward, channeling the internal strength she had found. "You will not be a ghost haunting me. You will be my motivator. Our healing begins now." Each word surged with energy as light. As her voice broke through the shadowy veil, a whirlwind erupted around them, brushing past memories of abandonment and despair. They spun furiously together, merging into a vortex of swirling colors: golden yellows, fierce reds, all intersecting with luminous greens. Together, they transformed the darkness, weaving paths of light that illuminated their circuitous journey. The girl watched, her face brightening, and as the shadows that clung to her began to dissolve, Sarah felt a release of pressure she didn't realize had been crushing her heart. She could now finally see the faces of love buried in her mind, the laughter of friends, the warmth of family, brightening the edges of memories long shrouded in guilt. "Thank you." The girl smiled, her voice a soft echo. "Now we can be whole." As the remnants of darkness faded, Sarah stepped back, panting. The cries of fear transformed into soft whispers, a galley of encouragement. She had faced her demons, even embraced them, but now something was different, larger than before. The shadows were fading, no longer threats, but echoes of her past that had now become allies, illuminating her path forward. Still, a part of her felt apprehensive. "What now?" she asked, glancing at the swirling remnants of her fears. They had changed. They were no longer grotesque, but had found clarity, a truth from which she could reclaim her power. Now, a voice from deep within the light called out, resonating with warmth and love, "Step into your future. Your transformation has only just begun." Her breath hitched. Each potential moment danced before her like a dream, yet untold. Would she allow herself to commit to the path that awaited? In that moment, a portal began to form, a shimmering gateway, radiating possibilities. Sarah knew this passage led to her new beginning, a destination crafted by her own strength and choices. She turned back to the girl, whose smile beamed brighter than the light enveloping them. "You'll always be with me, won't you?" "Always," the girl said, her eyes sparkling with joy. Taking a deep breath, Sarah stepped toward the shimmering portal, a rush of adrenaline coursing through her as warmth enveloped her heart. Leaving the darkness behind, she stepped into the light with clarity and purpose. With each stride, freedom flowed through her, veins like exhilarating fire. She was ready. She had unveiled her truth, reshaping shadows into strength, As she crossed the threshold, Sarah whispered into the vastness beyond, "This is my destiny. I am ready to transform." And just like that, the portal closed behind her, ebbing the shadows that had once trapped her in fear and despair. With her heart singing and spirit soaring, Sarah realized she had chosen not just to confront her past, but to embrace her future. And at that moment, in the glimmering world she had created, she was truly free. This is your moment to unlock your destiny. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And for the love of transformation, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to be part of this journey. Don't wait even one more second to share.